The recent scoring outbreak in this league is insane as of late. We have had 2 days of NBA basketball, and we have already seen 16 players drop more than 30. And last night, we just saw a 55 ball out of Shai and a 50 ball out of Aaron Gordon. And back-to-back games, too. I mean, scores league now, baby. Like, high-scoring affairs. And, yeah, great slate of games last night. Finally got to see the Nuggets play, Pacers play. And we're going to start off with that double overtime game to start with the Pacers and Thunder. I mean, yeah, a 55 ball from Shai last night. There's not much that I can say. There's not much insight that I can give on his performance. He was excellent. Excellent. He gets to the line better than anybody in the league, uses his body better than anybody in the league. He's phenomenal. We know who Shai is. He's the MVP, and he's making a strong case to go back-to-back this season. But however, some guys along the edges of that team really surprised me. And first guy on the Thunder roster was AJ Mitchell. I thought he was phenomenal. A guy who I really hope when they're fully healthy, because they're dealing with their injuries. J-Dub was out. Alex Caruso is out. Cason Wallace was out. When everybody gets back and healthy, I really do hope that AJ Mitchell can find his way in that rotation, because I think over the last 2 seasons, he's very much deserved it. I mean, I love his game. It's hard for me not to love a lefty. Like I've said, he's so confident and strong with his body. He gets to his spots better than a lot of these young guys can, and he knows his role too. He loves to get inside the paint with that lefty floater. And he can go both directions, too. I mean, he had a couple and one opportunities as well where he's floating to the right, but, he's a lefty, so he's shooting lefty. He got the bump and one. Happened a bunch last night. And he's got a lot of opportunities for that scoring role, especially with all those guys I mentioned that are out right now. So, I mean, he's really making a case to be a staple in this roster right now, rotational minutes. So, huge fan of him. I mean, he was huge last night. He ended up with 26 in 38 minutes. I mean, he was maybe one of their most impactful players. He pushes the tempo. He gets downhill really well. Decent knockdown shooter guy, too. They were leaving him open. They left Aaron Wiggins open a bunch, which, defensively, this was not a masterclass of a game. It was 141 to 135. So, a lot of back and forth. Transition opportunities, which I think both of these teams thrive at. But the Thunder are a very good defensive team, and still at up 135. Shout out to the Pacers, really able to break that defense down, even with missing so many guys, which we'll get to. But yeah, Aaron Wiggins was huge for them as well. Knocked down a ton of open shots, big time threes, especially late in the clutch where they're sending doubles at Shai because he's got 55 on you. So they're trying to make anybody else besides him beat you. And I thought Aaron Wiggins did a great job. I thought AJ Mitchell did a great job of that. I thought Chet all around played a pretty solid game. Defensively was pretty solid. Contested a lot of shots. Might not show up on the stat sheet, but helped defense. He altered a lot of shots, drove them out of the paint a little bit. iHeart was pretty good as well. 14 boards. I think iHeart's very important on this team for the rebounding aspect, because Chet is a capable rebounder. However, you kind of like him a little bit more on the perimeter, especially with that double big lineup that they run. So I think going forward, he's a huge X factor for this team as well as an anchor. Really like what I've seen from Jalen Williams on the defensive end too. I love when he's able to take a charge or two. Arkansas guy, he's the king of charges over there in college. So I really like when he gets in and is able to really impact the game defensively, which I thought he did the last 2 games of we watching the Thunder. So let's move on to the Pacers side of things, because there was a lot that I liked here as well. The fact that they were even in this game with the injuries that they're dealing with. I mean, they can't catch a break, man. Nembhard goes out in the first quarter, and he's a guy who everybody's been super high on for most improved, with Tyrese out. And I didn't get to catch what the extent of his injury was, so I'll have to look back into that. Actually, I'll look into it right now. So it's just saying shoulder injury, didn't give me any timeline or whatever, so hopefully that's a good sign for him. Because moving forward, I think they need someone like him. I thought the Pacers played phenomenal, and we'll get to all the positives. However, as a facilitating team, what'd they end up with assist-wise? I see Pascal got 4, Andrew Nembhard had 4 in that 17 minutes. Benedict only had 1 straight buckets for him. Jarris Walker had 4, Obi had 3. Like not a lot of assists out of them. It was just more buckets. You kind of figured because they don't even have a real playmaker on that court with the lineups they were running. I just love the next man up mentality from this roster. So many different guys step up at different moments of the game. Are we sure this team is going to be bad this year? Because I'm not sold. This was a game where they're dealing with all these injuries, and they just show you how deep of a roster this truly is. Truly is next man up. There's not really that number 1 solidified guy besides Pascal, which we'll get to again. Phenomenal game out of him. One guy who I've been really high on this whole offseason was Benedict Mathurin. Very intrigued with Tyrese out, even though he doesn't really take away from the scoring aspect of Benedict Mathurin. He kind of only sets him up in better positions. I'm still very intrigued because somebody needs to score the ball. If they're going to be at least a decent roster, like somebody needs to put the ball in the hoop. And I think Benedict Mathurin is, that guy to be able to do that. I thought he was phenomenal, aggressive, really took over that game, especially late game. He really hit some big time shots, kind of put the team on his back. Ended up fouling out, and in double overtime they ran out of juice, to be honest with you. They kind of gave up. I do think as a playmaker moving forward, especially if Andrew Nembhard seems like the injury's fine, but I do think that they need more playmakers on that roster. Pascal's obviously a willing playmaker as well. The next evolution for Benedict Mathurin is that scoring guard, because that's who he is. He's not a playmaker. He hasn't gotten that development yet. However, I do think there was moments in that fourth quarter and overtime where I thought they got in this game from playing off of each other with Jarris Walker and Ben Shepherd, swinging the ball and really playing together. And I think Benedict Mathurin missed Jarris Walker in a couple swings. Same with Ben Shepherd. He still had 36 and 11 in 45 minutes, and he was the reason, a huge reason that they were even in this game in the first place. Hit so many big time shots, got to the line, which I think is his next progression as well as a scorer. That's kind of the leap that all those elite scorers have to take, is just getting to the line and learning how to get foul calls. Great game out of him. I thought Obi Toppin is another guy who I've been pretty high on this offseason too. 20 points, 3 assists, 5 boards out of him. Thought he played phenomenal. Big X factor for this team going forward. I think he does have a whole other progression that he can kind of hit offensively. He came in as a dunker and then slowly kind of started progressing his 3-point shot, his mid-range, and getting to the line a little bit more. Again, I've talked about Jarris Walker. He looked super strong and confident. And I am not as familiar with his game as maybe some other people are. Haven't really got to deep dive into his film at all. But I thought he used his size super well, offensively and defensively. He got to the mid-range super well. He kind of forced some stuff later on in that game once Benedict Mathurin was out, but, somebody's got to score the ball, like I said. He had a pretty good game, so I'm not mad at that. However, I thought he defensively was always in the right spots on help side as well. I kind of really noticed that with him. Always had his arms out, plays very vertical, which I really like, and I'm really excited for him going forward because I think exactly what he provides is classic Indiana Pacers ball. Very versatile guy and next man up mentality, aggressive. So again, really liked what I saw out of him. However, I must admit, I think I'm a victim of undervaluing, not underrating, because I understand how good Pascal is. It looks like he keeps getting better, man. Some people talking how maybe if the Pacers really are tanking and want to kind of rebuild and refresh that roster, that he might be a guy out the door at the deadline. 1 game sample size, and we're going to overreact. However, he looked like a legit number 1 guy. And I think what he provides for this team so much is that veteran leadership, that championship mentality. He is like the perfect guy of like next man up mentality with those Raptors teams. And he's just had such a cool career, man. Like, so underrated, so undervalued. And again, I'm a victim to it. So like, I'm a hypocrite here. But I thought he was phenomenal. He does have a lot of turnovers that I scratch my head at sometimes. And offensively, kind of can be all over the place. I mean, we kind of know that. However, I really do like him in downhill and transition situations. He even plays above the rim a lot of the times, which kind of surprises me. Very athletic guy. Can get up and down the court and like a gazelle. Last season was such an important season for the Indiana Pacers going forward, of building an identity and understanding guys, that building that mentality of next man up. Even Aaron Nesmith became a valuable player for you guys throughout the last couple seasons. You never would have expected that. Obi Toppin became a real player for you guys. Ben Shepherd is a guy who I didn't know if he really fit in that rotation as well as some of the other guys that I liked off their bench. Like Johnny Furphy hasn't got any burn, but he has totally proved that he is a more than willing 3-and-D guy in this league who can just fit in a role and hit big shots when you need him to, and sit in that chair and defend and really play help defense, active in the passing lanes. I really like what I see from him. He's a really good player for this team as well. So, shout out Tony Bradley minutes, too. He actually didn't look bad. Jay Huff, too. I didn't really love what I saw from him, even though I'm a pretty big Jay Huff guy. So maybe that center position with Miles gone is something that probably will hurt them later on down the line in the season. However, I do think they have the ability to go small ball with Pascal at that center position maybe, and kind of get in a more run and gun type of style that I think they're more accustomed to. Moving on to Nuggets Warriors, we're going to start with the Nuggets side of things since it was their opening day. Just really good to see some Nikola Jokic. Good to see Cam Johnson in a Nuggets uniform as well. Jonas Valanciunas, all those guys. And the real star of the show here was Aaron Gordon with a 50 ball. 10 threes out of Aaron Gordon. From a guy who has just improved each year of his career, coming in with the Magic. Again, a guy like Obi Toppin, where he came into the league as a dunker and slowly developed his game into more of a playmaker. He developed that 3-and-D role with the Nuggets when he got there, ultimately leading them, helping them win a championship, which, he said this year is the hardest that he worked on his game in the offseason. And to drop a 50 ball in your opening night, solidifies that. I thought he was phenomenal. Super aggressive. Got to the line a bunch as well. Really used his size and above the rim athleticism to his advantage. This Warriors team is pretty small, and they do really play below the rim. There's not a lot of athletic guys besides like Jonathan Kuminga over there. So they don't really get a lot of block shots. So it was a huge opportunity for Aaron Gordon to kind of attack and, be aggressive. And he did just that. He got to the line so much. He had so many and ones that I'm like, I don't even know how the hell he got the ball out of his hands. A little disappointed in the Cam Johnson debut, but, first game with the team. Defensively, he made it as hard as he could on the switches with Steph and Jimmy. And, he kind of gives you that another versatile defender that they kind of need. Not the greatest Jokic game either, but I'm looking at his stat line now, 21, 10, and 13, and I don't think he really shot the ball very well. A bad Jokic game is still a triple-double, so, he's fine, man. First game, he's rusty. He's not a guy that I feel works on his game at all in the offseason very much, so kind of one of those guys who just ramps up during the season. So, the start of the season, Nikola Jokic, bad game for him, still triple-double. I do really like what I saw at Jamal Murray as well. That pick and roll is lethal. That 3-man game where someone's high post and someone's in the dunker spot like Aaron Gordon or Jokic or even Cam Johnson or Peyton Watson, all those athletic guys that they have. This might be one of the first times that I can remember where the off-court Jokic minutes, they built on a lead. Having Valanciunas as your backup center and having more depth with guys who can control an offense and not let everything go to hell when you're off the court, I think really just provides them with that structure that they need down the line, especially to contend for a championship. I think he provides you at least a similar look in backup standpoint that Jokic would give you if he's on the court, bigger body, a little bit slower, and, you can still get in those pick and rolls with Jamal Murray and even Cam Johnson can kind of handle Peyton Watson as well. You can really kind of do similar things. Underrated passer as well. I didn't even mention Bruce Brown either. Completely forgot that this was his debut again. I thought he gave you some good burn. He had 4, 5, and 3, just super impactful all around guy. I think just adds to this team's depth later on down in the postseason times where they're really gonna stand out. And then on the Warriors sides of things, Steph Curry. That's all I really got for you. Steph Curry is just as good as he was 10 years ago. Another one of those guys where I'm just sitting there watching and I can't wipe the smile off my face. I'm laughing. The shots that he hits. I mean, the heave that he had to tie the game in the fourth with like 15 seconds left. Unbelievable. I couldn't wipe the smile off my face. And I sit there and I'm losing my mind every time. So I'll never take a Steph Curry game for granted in my life. And I'll never count out a Steph Curry game either. I had like half my eyes shut and everything. And I was ready to go to bed. These West Coast games are hard for me. It's like 1 a.m. by the time, the fourth quarter or especially overtime rolls around. So, but he kept me up. I can't lie. He kept me up past my bedtime. Another guy who I have been loving lately is Draymond. I think Draymond might be one of the most important guys on this offense. When he's off the court, I don't think the flow is as good as it is when he's on the court. He really gets that ball moving and really emphasizes it too. Like, he'll always make the extra pass. He's not really looking to shoot very much. He ended up with 13, 8, and 8. Just super impactful. And obviously defensively, he's by far their most important piece. Again, not a vertical guy, so I think that's kind of where they could lack athleticism-wise. And playing above the rim teams, like the Spurs, I think they might struggle with a little bit. However, I do think they're just physical, they're sound, they know where to be on the court, the IQ is off the charts. So I've been loving Draymond this season. Another guy who've been loving is Jonathan Kuminga. I thought he's been fantastic. He's really bought into the role that Shawn Marion type of role, like I said, buckets in the flow of the offense. And he's able to still take guys off the dribble, especially when you kind of got guys on the bench, I thought they did a pretty decent job staggering minutes when Steph wasn't on the court, when Jimmy was on the court, where at least like Draymond or AirPods was on the court to kind of give that second unit a spark offensively. And defensively, they take a little bit of laps. Al Horford tries. I think Will Richard is a guy who's been fantastic for this team as well. Very similar to Jonathan Kuminga, where he's getting his buckets in the flow of the offense. A lot of backdoors, a lot of second chance opportunity type of things. He's a dog. And I think defensively he has a really great opportunity to, guard some of the better wings in the league for this team. Maybe him and Draymond type of thing. I just think he has a great opportunity to fit right in with this roster. He plays Warriors ball very well. He moves the ball. He's unselfish. I really like what I've seen out of him. Buddy Hield. It's the Buddy Hield experiment right now. He's hooping. He's giving you a lot. Kind of just waiting for that to dwindle down. But right now I'm going to appreciate it because when Buddy Hield's on, he's on. And then obviously Jimmy Butler's been fantastic for this team as well. Defensively, I don't think this team looked very good last night. They were losing people in transition, especially Aaron Gordon, who had like 8 threes at that point. They're not picking him up in transition. They're not finding ball. I didn't really like kind of lazy defense. Other than that, I thought this was a fantastic game as well. We're spoiled with the overtime games as of late. We got a big slate of games tonight, so might be back. Yeah, NBA ball, baby. Peace.